Cycles by Trellis Dupre. The Crone's words on death. You place the point of the protractor on the paper, and it becomes the middle of the circle. And as you trace the circumference with the pencil lead, so you trace your life cycle with experiences. The point at which you close this cycle is, by parallel, the point at which death closes life at the physical level. That tangible level in which we honor the housing that is flesh and bone. The housing in which your soul, in the spiritual, and your conscious persona, in the physical dimensions, merge to form you. In the physical dimension, the senses of sight, smell, taste, hearing, and touch, as well as thought, stimulate us. Even those of us who may be lacking in one or more of these senses in the life cycle experience. Life and death exist on at least two planes simultaneously. The physical, which is finite, and the spiritual, a dimension that has no demise. Life is a cycle of seasons that we experience and witness. Death is the completion of that cycle, nothing more. The gateway that leads to love. Lingering in the omnipresence of now are bits and pieces of those who have ventured beyond death's door. Their soul prints flutter about like fireflies in this dimension. A promise whispered in another parallel, whilst resonating in this one. Vapors dancing on bands of air that we breathe in and allow our senses to be intoxicated with. These are some of the gifts that death can bring to us. There is neither the need nor a reason to fear death. It is the one inevitability of life, the only natural progression in this universal dimension. Whether it has come in order to reunite a pair committed to one another in life, or as the merciful release from the unbearable, death is with us, true to its calling and purpose. We can tamper with life, manipulate its quality, alter its clarity. With death, this is not possible. Death is singularly the most egalitarian force in our existence. It crosses all barriers, be they ethnic, social, economic. In a way, death may be the sole purpose of life itself. All living existence that we know on this parallel and plane will step into death. Plant, animal, mineral, even the stars in the mighty universe die. Regardless of how we may have lived our lives, sinner or saint, perpetrator or victim, martyr or murderer, death is the final experience for all on our physical plane. Therefore, it must be good, just, the birthday of spirituality for us. Now, I suppose there are those of you who would say, if death is so wonderful, why not commit suicide? And to them I would answer, why should I rob it of the plans it has for me, since it is inevitable anyway? And to the souls that have, for whatever reason, chosen to be at death's side by their own hand, do we really know whether death had it planned that way in the first place or not? Experience your life cycle to the fullest, seeking peace, love, understanding, and enlightenment. The Crone's words on hate. Hate is an ulcer that festers from the inside out, a diseased prisoner trapped inside the innermost chamber of your being. It contaminates from within, a systemic plague rotting away at your core level. It prevents you from rising above the situation, blinds you from seeing reason and rationale. Though it may be your prisoner, in turn, you are imprisoned by it as well. Bound together in some helpless downward spiral of frustration, pain, and misery. Hate kills. It is the face of war, bigotry, racism, and delusion, the deliberate intention to harm. Cutting, jeering words echoing endlessly down the corridors of the memory. Bitter tears that water the seeds of vengeance. Rid yourself of its evil clutches. You must unlock the heavy lead door behind which it paces relentlessly inside you, and set it free, free to embrace forgiveness and to seek restitution and acceptance, to be diluted with the soothing seltzer of peace and calm, a tranquility that strokes the furrowed brow as it whispers, "Let it go." Loosen the grip of your tightly clenched fist. Gently open your hand and disperse hate's troubled ashes to the winds of change. The Crone's words on negative energy. Negative energy is a disheveled beggar that comes to call. It knocks constantly at the door of your consciousness and implores your admittance. It is your choice either to let it in or send it away. You are always with a choice. In and of itself, negativity is powerless, a seed lying dormant, waiting to be nurtured. Once nurtured, it can take on a life of its own. Therefore, it is ultimately important to determine if and how much of it you are willing to allow in. There are healthy doses of it, like the gut feeling that says, don't venture down that dark, deserted alleyway, or at the wee hours of darkness, the warning flag waving in the back of your mind when you know you have been deceived by someone you thought you could trust. Such instances are healthy forms of it and should be heeded. It is the part that brings the positive into balance. In the event that you find it has invaded and occupied more space than you are comfortable with, you must then reopen the door and usher it out. Always recognize it and monitor it. Never fear it. It breeds on fear. For as many people as there are as many reasons why things will not work out the way in which they desire them to. A negative person can only see, feel, and accept negative energy. A positive person sees, feels, and accepts positive energy. We must determine individually which one we are and to what degree. The Crone's words on love. Love is an existence, a state of being rather than an emotion. It is infinite, boundless, and without borders. It cannot be won. It cannot be captured. It cannot be destroyed. It is the balance of indifference. Those who will not or cannot love are indifferent. They do not live in love's light and likeness. Many, indeed most, confuse love with lust, desire, duty, or need. These are feelings, emotions, reactions, responsibilities, and the like. Love transcends life itself and remains suspended interdimensionally, knowing neither space nor dimension, but illuminating ever presently and eager to be received by any and all who will rise to its dimension of being. One does not fall in love. One does not trip or stumble somehow and find oneself in love. We are always in love's presence, and when we open the door to our core chamber and allow love to enter, it is then that we experience its essence within and are forever transformed. One is filled with and enlightened by love. Love does not possess, nor can it be possessed. The instant one tries to capture love is the instant one loses focus on the love flame. It is in the air, the intake of a breath, the essence of focus, the spark of light that is the clarification within, the driving force. One can feel attached or connected to another person and call it love because they feel the physical urge to interact with them intimately. To mingle the energies, fluids, and oils, so to speak. This feeling is not love because it seeks gratification. It aims toward a goal. It needs to be validated. It expects reciprocation, as in the return of affection. In the all-important climax or orgasmic crescendo that the two or more are trying to achieve when culminating the act of what has come to be termed making love. The state and light of love is its own self-fulfillment. People do not make love. Love is essential. Like iron and gold, one abides in love's light and dimension. The sex act is the ultimate connecting of the physical realm, the sharing and blending of physical bodies at the base chakra level. We eat in order to satisfy the urge we call hunger. We engage in sex to satisfy the urge we call desire. Passion is merely a heightened degree of of desire or conviction. Passion should not be confused with love. When the fires of passion become simmering embers and are, in the end, extinguished, love's blaze rages on, its light even more brilliant than before. Only love survives burning in the now. It neither encourages nor discourages us. It simply is a limitless entity, a spark that defies destiny. To a religious person, God, Allah, Buddha, Jehovah, Krishna, Adonai, all are personifications of love, but love cannot be personified. It simply is. Perfection, ever blossoming in its ultimate state of enlightenment. That timeless balance between the inhale and the exhale is the definition of love. The Crone's words on time, the immortality of nowness. There is no such thing as time. Those of you in this dimension break the now into increments that you call time because it is the only way that you can understand it. You are not attuned to the greater percentage of your brains that allows you to fully comprehend the concept of the particles of space that you experience and call time. The greater percentage of your brain is connected to spirit energy, which is the light of enlightenment. Until you become aware, until you become what you call aware, you exist in a flash of space. Asleep, you are there also, and on the parallel sides of what you call life. Infinity is not measured in time. There is no such thing as before or after, no yesterday or tomorrow, no such thing as before you were born or after you are dead. There is only now, in the continuing spark that has neither beginning nor end. So many attempts are made to harness this thing you call time. You dice it into days, years, seasons, ancient, modern. You speculate about the future, but all of this is right now. The mediums and clairvoyants of your dimension are more attuned to the spirit light of the brain, and because they are able to witness either sides of the parallel. But because they are limited by their infinite humanness contained in the housing of flesh that you call the body, they often misinterpret that which they have witnessed or heard. The body is limiting. True, there are cycles, seasons, changes, but all of this is happening at once in the flashing sparkle of now. Thought is the manifestation of all, and your collective thought is able to turn now into past, present, and future. Whatever your collective thought dwells on happens. War, peace, tranquility, chaos, beauty, horror. You should often close your eyes and connect yourselves to the golden thread of thought that manifests pure love. For in doing so, you will exist in the immortality of love's nowness. Cultivate that core spark of light within. This is the essence of the soul. Slip outside of and rise beyond the housing that you call your body and dwell within the now. Experience the bliss of one's awareness. Bask in the perfection of now. At this point, I asked the crone to explain to me if indeed there is no such thing as the passage of time. How is it that we age and die? The following is the answer she gave me. The crone said, according to your understanding of time and its passage, tell me your earliest childhood memory. With myself, I said, I thought for a moment, said, I suppose it would be the time I climbed out of my crib and wandered to the top of the carpeted stairwell and then began tumbling down those stairs. I was 18 months old. I hadn't wanted to take my nap that day, but my mother insisted and put me into my bed and raised the side rail so that I couldn't get out. The crone said, can you see your face? I said, yes. The crone said, the carpet on the stairwell? I said, yes. The crone said, what color is it? I said, brown, with golden leaves and flowers. The crone said, is the fall painful? I said, no, not really. It happened so quickly. I just remember tumbling in my nightgown and my mother and grandmother running to my rescue. Crone, can you see their faces, the expressions on their faces? Me? Yes, I can. Crone, it is not a memory, it's an experience, ever living in that particle of space. Nothing changes except in your perception of it. The color of the carpet, the layout of the house, the expressions on their faces, that 18-month-old baby is you right now. I plowed through my mind, trying to counter what she had said with some profound words of my own, but hers rang so true to me, even though I didn't fully understand how they could or why they did. After a while, she smiled at me and continued, Crone, what is the most precious thing in the world to you? Me, that's easy. At my age, it would have to be my gift of life. Crone, and what is that? Me. Well, it's the only thing that hangs in the balance. I mean, we don't know how much time we have, do we? We know that we are going to die, but we don't know when. Crone, when do you want to die? Me. I beg your pardon. Crone, when do you want your cycle to come full circle? When do you want to venture into the parallel of now? Me. The parallel of now? Crone, as your spirit chooses to leave your father's loins and germinate in your mother's womb, so it chooses to inhabit this shell known as you, to experience that which you call life. In this dimension or on this plane, within its flash of space, so you also choose to exhale into the parallel dimension that you call death, me. Then life and death are one and the same, Crone. Life, death, sleep, all are parallel dimensions, me. And all are now, Crone. Exactly. That's why it is so important to prioritize in such a way that you are always in the now. For doing so, you remain at the ultimate level of your experience, cycle, and purpose. Me, I don't quite follow. Crone, let me explain it another way. For instance, we will use your dimensional concept of time without giving it a lot of thought. Tell me a daily plan for yourself beginning when you awaken in the morning. Me. Well, I suppose I will get up, exercise, practice some yoga. After that I will shower, eat a light breakfast, and go to work. Crone. And after work? Me, let's see. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so that's the night that I meet my friend Caroline, and we go to the cinema. Crone. And now let's say that in exactly 14 of those increments that you call minutes, you're going to experience a sudden heart attack and die. What are your priorities now? Me, oh my. I suppose I'd call my closest friends and tell them goodbye, and that I love them. Then I would want to go to the water, the bank of the river, or a beach by the sea. Crone. Listen to the things that are most important to you and live accordingly in this dimension. It's the only way to balance the parallels. Do you grasp what I'm saying? Me, yeah. I think I do. You are saying that we should live in the moment and focus on the things that fulfill us, to embrace the moment as it reveals itself to us. She smiled, leaned forward gently, and stroked my face. All energy resonates on frequencies of light, sound, and color, she said. The Crone's words on God and religion. Humans created God in the image of a supreme, omnipotent, immortal entity in order to shift the blame for our failings and shortcomings upon some mystical spirit that controls everything. This way, no matter what we do or say or even think, is always behind us. And being beyond us, if the action or word or thought mushrooms into something hideous, hurtful, or wrong, then we are to blame. It's God working in his, her, or its mysterious way. Religion is a political institution designed and created to keep the masses under control, a twin sibling to the military. God is always at the top of the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, the inescapable creator, created to keep us enslaved to it. Humanity is evolving beyond the shackles that imprison it, evolving beyond their created creator, evolving beyond themselves, and connecting to the spark of energy that is the essence of infinite existence. When one observes things as a mortal, one ponders the what, how, when, where, and why of it all. What is its purpose? How did it get here? How long will it stay? What changes will it make to me in my limited time? Where will it take me? Countless, endless questions. As a Jew or Christian, we might ask, why only Adam and Eve were conceived and the rest of us born through sexual reproduction? More importantly, if Eve had not been fooled by the serpent with the apparent ability to walk and speak, and not only have taken a bite of the forbidden fruit herself, but convinced Adam to do so as well, would God still be creating people today in the same way? He made Adam and Eve from dirt and a rib bone. From the same way he made Adam and Eve from a rib bone. Or would we all be inbred reproductions of that original pair, but birthed painlessly? Such are the things that the mortal finite mind ponders. The immortal infinite mind doesn't need to ponder such things. It is continuous thought or creation. It just is, limitless, timeless, without worries or concerns. but at the same time ever caring and all-knowing, always aware. The Crone's words on war and immortality. Expecting a mortal being of the infinite world to understand immortality or infinity is as absurd as expecting a hummingbird to understand a turtle. One scurries, hurries, and literally works itself into a short life cycle, while the other moves extremely slowly with the apparent intent and lives upwards of 200 years. War is greed, and either or the incapacity or unwillingness to negotiate, personified. War need never happen. Neither side wins a war. All sides lose on every level. Physically, within the loss of lives and destruction. Psychically, as in the brainwashing of usually the young into hating a so-called enemy enough to seek them out in order to kill them. Spiritually, because we are all connected within the energetic forces that compromise the omnivores. Therefore, when one of us is harmed, so are we all. The gnat is just as important in the whole scheme of things as is the great sequoia, a galley, a minnow, and us. Do not look to me or others for your answers, for I can only relay to you my own answers. Neither will I turn to you or others for mine. It is possible to manifest every thought in one way or another. Try not to disagree, but rather agree to disagree. As this route allows ample room for all factors to be heard and respected. To arrive at opposing ends indicates that there is a balance somewhere between the opposition. The balance is what each must strive for. There is no supremeness, but only the harmonious inner workings of all that mesh to form the whole, to then expand and pulsate eternally. One cannot comprehend infinity imprisoned within the confines of the infinite brain and body. Thought, which is the essence of mind and spirit of that brain and body, blazes with the presence of now, always now. When what you think, say, and do truly comes from within you, then you are connected to the energy of goodness and are whole. Such was my conversation with the Crone.